In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, our special guest is Mr. Abdul Tubman. Abdul Tubman is a Liberian-born activist, nonprofit executive, and cultural strategist based in New York. As Director of Operations at Corners Community in Stamford, Connecticut, Abdul leads transformative initiatives that empower Black communities through education, advocacy, and collective action. A proud descendant of President William V.S. Tubman of Liberia and Sir Sheikh Barak Hinwa of Kenya, Abdul channels his ancestral legacy to foster unity across the African diaspora. His multidisciplinary work spans financial literacy, particularly through life insurance education, grassroots organizing, public speaking, and creative expression in theater, film, and visual arts. Abdul's approach blends strategic leadership with cultural storytelling, amplifying voices often left unheard. Committed to justice, creativity, and community power, Abdul Tubman is shaping a future where Black excellence is not just celebrated, but sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to the show again Mr. Abdul Tubman. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I am just excellent. It's good to have you back again.
I'm happy to be back.
So, is there anything else you'd like to add to your bio?
Not at the moment. That was great. Thank you so much.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. So, as we get ready to jump into the show, I'm going to let's start with your activism and advocacy.
Sure.
So, can you tell us what first sparked your passion for activism?
So I think it kind of stemmed from a lot from my mom. My mom is always a person who's out and about in the community doing different things. She's always been a person to just help people, and her love for others always just rang well with me. And so it's something that I just, if I see somebody who needs help, I try to see if I could figure out a way to, either get them what they need or get them to another person who could help facilitate.
Oh wow! So is this something that you just started doing, or was there something that sparked this just in your innate DNA of getting this of just making this happen?
It just kind of fell into it, where you see people struggle, you see where we are in society, and you see so many people talking about what can we do, but when it boils down to it is what should we do and how can we do. And it's really changing the conversation changing it from having conversations to start doing things.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, how has your Liberian heritage influenced your approach to social justice?
Oh, that's a great question. I've actually never been asked that before. So that's a good one. I think it's, when you look at legacies and, growing up with multiple legacies behind me, but it's really, understanding the fact that we all have to build our own legacies. We can use legacies that have come before us, but those are not ours. It's truly a moment to take a moment or to take a step back and understand the things that have happened before you to be able to fuel where you want to go, or to take society or to take the people around you.
What does activism look like in today's digital age?
That's a great question because when you think of activism today, there are so many people who are true activists, and then you have keyboard warriors. And to really distinguish between the two, it's looking at people who are really out there. The first person that comes off to mind is Ernest Krim III. Wonderful person, educator, true advocate, and he's a leader in his own right. And you look at people who are on the ground, who are well informed, who are educated, who are looking past the ignorance of society and really taking the charge to educate people and to bring them to this enlightened space of knowing more, understanding more of the things that are around them, and understanding how the things that are happening are truly connected if you look hard enough.
Mm. So, in doing that, I mean, like, how have some of the situations come about when doing your work, like with the communities themselves? I
Mhm.
mean, have they like been like kind of like broken pieces, totally broken? What are some of the things that you've seen in the process of doing your work in activism?
Yeah, for us, I'm the director of operations for Corners Community that's based out of Stanford, and what we try to do is we meet people where they are because we know that everybody has different life circumstances. So it's really understanding people's and individuals' needs. Looking at one family, you cannot apply that same formula to the next family because their situations are different. Overall, the ideologies and those things do work generally, but at the end of the day, you have to take each person or each family as they are and figure out what they need, and to figure out either programs or people or organizations to get them help or to create something that is needed. One thing that we do is we run a little league team, and that's stemmed from children asking to play. And what we ended up doing is calling out to the community, hey, if you've got a 9 or 10 year old, would they be interested in baseball? And next thing you know, now we're celebrating our or I should say, back in April, we celebrated our 1 year anniversary of the first ever All Black Little League team in Stamford, Connecticut, and
Oh
it
wow!
just stems from that.
Oh wow! Can you share a moment when your advocacy work made a tangible impact?
Yes, I mean, to not to harp on this little league team, but um, it's a great example of taking 13 black little boys and showing them what discipline looks like, what showing up looks like, what pride in your uniform, pride in how you present yourself, how pride in how you win, but also understanding how to lose, and taking those skill sets and the things that they learn and applying them not only to just baseball, but how to apply it in their work, how to apply it in their, when I say work, I mean homework, programs, projects that they may want to do, and just carrying those principles into life. And we can see that tangible effort, especially even after 1 year, we can see the transformation in some of these young little men.
Oh, how do you balance grassroots organizing with institutional engagement?
That's a good one. So a lot of our funding comes from grants and individuals, but we do partner with other organizations and decently institutionalized organizations to work together to really fill the needs of the community. Because at the end of the day, this is truly a community effort. It's about reconnection to each other. It's about community building. Nobody does anything ever alone. You may feel that way, but in reality, you got to go to somebody else. And so if we collectively do that, we could see these end results.
What are some of the biggest challenges facing Black activists today?
Mm. Well, I mean, I know in this current era, funding is a massive problem. As we see DEI is being scaled back. It's really hard to get a handle as to where we're going currently, but but then the other half of it is it's education. It's really just understanding how do we present the information that is necessary for us as a people to grow and really work better together effectively for the lasting change. It's how do we bridge that gap? So it's really taking the time to understand. And sometimes because we're always reacting to things as they're coming, we may not have time to really properly plan. So we're just kind of moving and moving and moving. But at some point, we do have to take that step back and really just focus or refocus our efforts in the right way.
So, like, do you guys kind of like congregate amongst yourselves? Like, you could be in probably different parts of the country or something like that,
Yes.
and you guys come up with a plan to strategize that way, and then you just activate.
Yes, we do. So we meet actually every our within our nonprofit space. We'll meet on like Google Meet or virtually or in person, and we'll just have a meeting and it'll be maybe an hour, 2 hours, sometimes three, if we have a lot to talk about, if there's something really pressing that we really need to dive into. But we meet regularly to talk about these issues and formulate plans and understand, if there's if, like, for example, the midterms are coming up, so we're trying to figure out who needs to go where who needs to be talked about, who are the politicians that we're supposed to support. It's understanding how have they voted before, and so we then talk about it, we understand what's happening, and then we try to disseminate that information to the community.
So, how do you guys pick a candidate that you guys want to support? What are some of the things that you guys look for when
Mm-hmm.
you put that backing behind them and you try to give them that 100% support, especially with the community?
Well, it's asking the right questions. It's looking at how they voted previously. It's their track records are public. So if they come out and say something, but they voted against it, obviously those two things don't jive. So it's really understanding how politics works. A lot of people don't understand civic engagement well, and so that's another aspect of education that we have to really get back to. It's between civics, finances, and engagement, we need to understand how all of these things interplay into each other within our communities. So it's really just looking at the overview, but then also asking those politicians for time to meet with them, or if they're doing a public forum, we'll have representatives there to talk to them, or at least have a series of questions where if they have the time they can ask that question, or series of questions, or sometimes they have emails beforehand where you can email all your questions in. So we'll put something together and we'll send it out to either the person or the people that it needs to get to tailor the questions in the right way, so that way when we hear very specific phrasings in their answers, we know what it really means.
Ooh, well, now you know how that game gets now.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
sometimes people like to say things just to say them.
exactly. But your voting record, that's
Yeah.
black and white.
So do you guys primarily do a lot of focusing on the local races or the national races?
Well, local right now, as we've had a series of changes, we have, in Stanford specifically, we have a superintendent that is on the way out. She put in her 1 year notice for resignation, or not really resignation, for retirement, really. And so, it's really now we're taking the time to say, okay, there is a need now. This person is outgoing. Who's going to be the person to replace them? And how do we talk to the right people to understand who the candidates are, or even if we know somebody who could do the job, how do we get them to to take the responsibility, or even attempt to take the responsibility?
So have you guys ever had a write-in candidate that you backed?
Not yet, not yet. But we have a person in Newark right now, that we are fond of. I'm sorry, not Newark, Norwalk. And in Stanford, I know that right now, well, not right now, but I know that we are very aligned with the current mayor. She's done a lot of good work. And we have a lot of local community advocates who do a lot of work with either the mayor or the mayor's office. So we have a good, not reputation, but we have a good rapport with them.
So, how do you define community power?
Hmm. Community power is the greater sum of the parts. And what I mean by that is every individual has their own specialty or a gift of sorts. It's just a matter of understanding what resources you bring to the table, and then we pool them all together to, either fight the good fight or to build something that's necessary. Yeah, whether it be a little league team, a black coalition, a book club, to for learning financial literacy classes. It's really just who can do the thing. That's community power. It's not always, oh, let's have a discussion about it. It's like, sure, let's have a discussion about it, and then let's initiate a plan. And that's true community power. It's getting to the plan and then executing.
Right. So, is it hard getting people in the community to engage when you guys are out actually spreading this information and helping them to understand? How hard is it to gather them?
It's honestly, it's not too hard because we've been around for several years now, and it's local people who live in the community, so they are already known, and so right now it's pretty easy for us to disseminate the information. It's more so of just how do we reach more people, and that's really just where we're at now. It's how do we get more people to understand what's happening around us, and how do we create more involvement, because people know about us, they've seen us, but it's just a matter of how do we really just bring them in, retain them, and get them to join some of our programs. And look, we're nowhere near like a size of like a YMCA in the local community or anything like that. We're very, very grassroots, but we're at a lot of the events, and we show up in community events. There's like Love Fest, there's different community things, and or even in churches where we'll go to where you are, so that way we can have a presence. And we have a bunch of members who are now locally involved in the NAACP, and so it gives us even a larger reach to be able to work together as both groups and also as just one big group.
So, with those organizations, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
do you guys one partner with those organizations, and two, what is their role in helping you guys when you're organizing the community?
Yeah, we will partner with them, or we'll just work with them, or sometimes they're just initiatives that they will put out that we just support because we understand, and because we have some of our members are in both groups, so we kind of know what's happening as it's happening, or at least just after it's happening. So then we can then do our part to help disseminate the information, help corral people, help get people to where they need to be, whether it be funding events or community events, cookout events. It's just when we're at those events, we're not just doing that thing. We're also talking about the issues. We're talking about financial literacy. We're talking about social issues. So it's having deeper conversations and really pointed conversations to have the best impact and have the best of both worlds of social and still civic engagement.
Right. So, can you tell us what role does storytelling play in your activism?
Well, storytelling is something that is just in our blood. We're some of the best. I mean, look, I'm just gonna say we have some of the best storytellers in the world. It's what we have always done, because oral history is something that has just always been a thing with us. And so when it comes to storytelling, I love a good narrative. But at the same time, when I say good narrative, it doesn't have to be a happy story. It's a matter of that. It's really, did you take away the true lesson here? And are you understanding what's really being talked about? Because just because you see, it could be something sci-fi or something, that may be more a little bit more abstract, but if you can still extrapolate that information and understand what you're reading and understanding, because for me specifically, I see that there's reading is on the downturn, and unfortunately that means that there is an overall lack of empathy in the world. The reading is one of the first places where you gain empathy, because you put yourself into other people's shoes and perspectives. And so when you have that, when you have that literacy rate drop, that means that there's going to be more negativity out in the world, just as a side chance. So it's really good storytelling and weaving the right narratives and bringing the right stories to tell the right messages and get those things out there. That it's very crucial, and it's extremely important for people to understand that people's stories are important. Your story is important. And so it's getting people to understand that you write your own history, and so might as well make it the best story that that somebody else will ever tell.
Exactly. So, as I think about activism and advocacy. So one,
Hmm.
I do think about how you guys actually when you're actually getting out not just a story but a narrative, and this is important because of the effects and so forth. But in doing it from an advocacy perspective, especially if it's one of those real serious under marginalized communities, how much work goes into that you guys actually have to pull that community back up to at least a normal state and work with it?
Mm. Well, for us, again, it's just really just meeting people where they are and filling gaps. We can't do everything, but what we can do is meet people where they are to understand their needs, and then work with them to get them either what they need, or get them a pathway to get there, because sometimes we're not it, and that's okay. But understanding our
Mhm.
resources, it's just a matter of a series of phone calls to get to the right person, because look, it's networking. It's all about understanding, again, about community. Networking is just building your own community, so you need to curate your
Mhm.
community. And so having good people in your community means that good things will come from and for your community. And so tying everything back together towards putting that effort, all of that combined effort, either into a family or into a series of families or a community itself. It's getting people to really talk to each other, because even though there are many people struggling, what people don't realize is that you're struggling in different ways, and we can all fill the gaps of each other's struggles if we were to talk to each other just a little bit more and communicate just a little bit more effectively. Because just because one person may be struggling financially, somebody else may be struggling emotionally. And so I'm not saying the emotional person give the other person money, but if one person's a therapist and one person needs therapy, that's the way you
Right.
do that. It's not everything specifically is monetary, but sometimes yes, it is, bills and things like that. But sometimes it could be, hey, I need to just not be home. Can I just crash on your couch for a night and just get out of my headspace? Those things can mean so much to people, because sometimes you just need to reset your nervous system, and that can just reboot everything. Because once you take that step back out of the situation that you're in, it allows you to breathe. And when you're in survival mode, or living paycheck to paycheck, you're not thinking about, long-term goals, because you're just trying to survive and make it to tomorrow.
Oh yeah, because now as you mentioned that, I think whether it's financially or emotionally, I think they're kind of like mutually exclusive, because they kind of go hand in hand, even though some are able to wear a better mask than others.
Yes. Mm.
So
Yes. So true.
so when you have to sit down and you really and just saying you got this feel, but you're really trying to pull this out because you really want to help. You sometimes
Yeah.
really have to go into that point of really going into the counseling therapy part of that.
Yeah. It's not so much counseling or therapy, but or I should say, it's not so much therapy. It is a bit of counseling, but I would say it's closer aligned to coaching, like life coaching, where it's just to take a step back out of their own life. Could be half an hour, to just say, hey, look, let's just put your life down on paper. Let's put your goals down on paper. Where do they align? Where do they not align? And what pathway do you want to get to from there to here? And then let's create that pathway.
Wow. So, how do you stay grounded while working in emotionally intense spaces?
That's a great question. I think that for me, I've always been more of a logical person, and but also my mom's resilience in, and I want to say resilience in love, I think is the best way to phrase it. Is my mom has been a person who is always just grounded in love. And what I mean by that is that love is the starting place for a lot of things, because love can lead to kindness. It leads to self care. It leads to care for others. It leads to so many different things. And if you start from a place of love, everything that you do and everything that you pour out of will eventually pour back into you, because people in your community will feel that ray of light from you, and then they will then at some point when you need pour back into you. And that's, curated community where you have your core group of people that you rely on. And it's very much the phrasing of the friends that you keep will either propel you or drag you
Right.
down.
So, I mean, like, but like in this case, is that like where you have to gain the trust of these people in order to know
Yeah,
that they're going to, one, work
eventually
together
come out.
and, make
Mhm.
everything cohesive, especially for the community?
Yeah. Look, nothing ever just happens, right? Sometimes you just have to show up, and sometimes just showing up repeatedly and being consistent. That's the goal. It's not like, I think about 3 years into, or 2.5 years into working, in our nonprofit. But it's not like I just showed up and just started doing a bunch of stuff with people. It was more so like I just showed up at barbecues, events, and people got to know me. And once they realized, because I'm not from Stamford, so I live about half an hour, 20 minutes away, and so it's, why is this person who doesn't live here? Why does he keep showing up? And I don't know him. We have different lives. Why does he care? It's those are the kinds of questions that I would have to deal with, from the onset. But it's really just a matter of being consistent. If you show up enough, eventually that trust will build. And a lot of people that I never knew were now
Oh,
good
wow.
friends.
So what advice would you give to young activists just starting out?
Build a community that will feed into you as much as you will feed into them. And don't worry about money so much, because there are so many ways that you can do things without money. Because if you have a service and someone else has a service, congratulations, you can swap services. And that way you can both get things done. If it's like, if I need a website done and somebody else needs some help with their resume, hey, it may take the same amount of time or whatever have you. So it's just a matter of finding out ways, almost like a barter system, to just really just help one another, because when one person succeeds, they can then help another person succeed, or you succeed together.
Now, I think that one sounds much better than anything when you succeed together,
Yes.
because what that does is I think that
Hmm.
makes much of a stronger bond. It also allows you to grow that much better, that much quicker, that much stronger.
Yes. Hmm. Yes.
Let's go over to your work in community engagement. What is Corners Community and what makes its mission unique?
Corners Community is a nonprofit that was birthed, from a group of people who saw that their community was lacking in very specific ways when it came to education, financial literacy, seeing how, from the BLM era to just seeing how the climate of the country was going. They understood it, or I should say, they saw a need for community, and how do we bring that together? And so they started a series of programs from, working with kids on and education, working with teens on financial literacy and things like that. And so it's really just putting all of those things together to really build out this real community effort, and to say like, hey, everybody has their own specialty expertise, so why don't we just use those things to our advantage in our own community and see what we can do together.
Wow. And so how do you build trust within communities that have been historically marginalized?
Showing up and being consistent. Quite frankly, it's because no one's going to just trust you on the onset. You have to just keep going, even if they say, oh, I don't need it, but sometimes people either are prideful, they want to do it themselves. But so, just don't argue, just keep showing up until that they start asking questions. And once they start asking questions, then you can then say, hey, this is actually who I am. I'm here to help if you'll allow me to. I'm not here to take over or do anything. I'm literally just here to help. But if I can empower you to get you where you want to be, let's have a conversation.
Right. What does collective action mean to you in practice?
Collective action it's directing community in a way that an affecting change would be the outcome. I think that would be the closest rephrasing for me. It's really just understanding that people can do a lot if you give them the opportunity. The problem is opportunity. And so we have to figure out avenues to be able to bring opportunity to people who either don't have them or don't even know that they exist. And then from that point, we can grow.
So if you had to, as you're looking at, you're on the show here today, and we got folk out there that's watching this show, what are some of the things that they should know about your organization, especially if you guys are near where they are and somebody's looking for some help? What is it that you can tell them about your organization that would actually give them the strong confidence that they should come to your organization for help?
Sure. If you were an organization, you wanted to learn a little bit more on either community building specifically. And when I say that, I mean looking inwards to your own community, because obviously if you're from a different community. So what I would say is look inwards to the people that you are working with and the people that you want to be serving, because the people that you want to be serving, they do want more. It's just a matter of sometimes they don't even realize that they can do more, or they have the ability to do the thing. And so it's figuring out that empowerment path, but also understanding that everybody has their own skill sets. So it's leveraging those skill sets within your organization. It's because we have, like, for example, our Little League team is run by, it's not professional coaches, it's run by the parents of the kids. So we have, so we, when our vice president, he kind of directs the whole thing, and then you have we have a couple of male coaches who come in, but they're parents in the community as well, and then we have a bunch of the moms who are actually very involved and are they are coaches on the team as well. So it's really, again, and some of these parents have never played baseball before, some have, and so it's getting them up to speed, but then they love it too. So it goes back to your earlier question about the tangibility of the kids and the changes. We also have the other side of that, is that the parents are also learning new skill sets. They're taking takeaways for their kids, and from their kids. So there's very multi-generational learning that's happening at the same time, which is just wonderful.
And so did you say that the mothers are primarily coaching?
Yes.
Wow. So with that being said, I mean, so like, do you guys really get into the spirit of competition, or is it like just
Oh,
Oh,
oh yes. We actually just had a moms versus the kids game, and the kids came back and tied it up though.
oh wow. See that now that's cool. That is
Yeah.
really cool. Um, I'm
Hmm.
not quite familiar with Stanford, but I have heard of it. And I
Hmm.
know, I think we spoke of this the last time you was on the show, but with it being like, is it like one of those small cities that's there in Connecticut?
I would say it's a
It's
decent
decent.
size. Yeah, it's a yeah. I would say it's a decent size.
So, but within that pocket of where it's located, I mean, like,
Mhm.
does location mean more so to the plus or minus, or shall I say, the building or the demise of the community?
In certain areas, yes. So like there are like the quote unquote lower economic areas, and then there are like Greenwich, which is right next
Right.
to Stanford,
Okay.
Darien. Those are places that are very very affluent. Stanford is a bit of a mishmash where you have very affluent pockets, and then you have low income pockets. However, everybody essentially uses the same resources, which is really nice. There's a lot of blending in the city. So like if you have like when we have little league games, it's like we have our kids, and then we have but we're in the Stanford Little League, so we're playing against all the kids, and so it's just really just it just happens to be that we have the only all black team, but when we show up, it's really just it's the kids that they're playing against are their friends from school. So it's not like it's out of pocket or anything like that. As they're passing by, going to their dugouts, kids are high-fiving each other, saying, "Oh my God, I saw you in school," or whatever. But it's a nice feeling for them because it's very inclusive.
I think that means so much, and it makes me think of when I was growing up, a kid like 10, 12, 9 years old, and
Hmm.
especially sports is the thing for me. And so being
Yeah.
down here in the southeast, I mean, that's just one of those things. I'm born and raised in Alabama, so you're going to play some sports. And
Yep.
so as I think about like community centers and so forth, and so and
Hmm.
how they were around then, which it seems like they've taken those away. Do they have
Yeah.
things like that, or have you guys established any of those things in that community in Stanford for that gives the kids like a little bit more of a place to be a little bit more liberal, to go and just hang out and have fun?
There are a couple centers that have some of those facilities. Like we have the Police Athletic League, the PAL
Mhm.
Center, and we partner with them a lot. There's another program called Rites of Passage, which is under the DOPE organization, where we partner with them too to teach kids different things. But the PAL Center is a place where kids can learn like computer skills. I've taught financial literacy there. I taught history at that place. They run basketball clinics. They have, I believe, they have a tennis court outside
Oh,
as well. So they've got a couple different, things that you could go and sign up for and do. There are, as far as I know, I know that because UConn is there, you can also, you can use their facilities as well. Rent them out or get a pass. And then there's the Stanford Government Center where you can hold meetings and do different things. So there are pockets of places to be. There's not like one main center, but there is like the Yearwood Center. There is the new the Creator Lab space. So it's like if you want to get a little bit more technical or get a little techie or do a little STEM, they have spaces for that. So there are places to go, but it's not just like one space like that kind of
oh
fits all.
wow. Well, see, that means a whole lot,
Yeah.
especially in today's time, especially from that technical part.
Yes.
So how do you measure success in community work?
It's the changes in people. It's a harder metric to see, but over time you can see changes in behavior. Like for example, the in our little league team, over the course of the last year, we've seen kids grow tremendously from kids who have maybe come from uh, more of I wouldn't say violent background, but they're more prone to lash
Mhm.
out. And so, dealing with emotional issues is what I'm saying, is that they may be quicker to anger, things like that. But now, because they've got routines, they're used to being around these specific people. They're more open to engage with you. They're more open to, give you that high five, or even sometimes, give you a hug. It's, from the get go, it's harder to do that. You'd have to repeat yourself multiple times to get people to do stuff. But now it's just, hey guys, like, let's do this thing. And, you may have to repeat it once or twice,
Mhm.
but it's nowhere near where we started out. And so that growth is just, it's been phenomenal. And so, for parents, kids, it's really just looking at those small behavioral pattern changes that carry through them, through life. Like, for example, I was at an event for the NAACP, and some of our baseball kids were there, in support with their parents and stuff too. And one of the kids actually wanted to go home to finish his school project. And this is a Saturday. Like, this is like 1 o'clock on a Saturday. And so, so somebody said, hey, like, his mom's at home. She's not here. She's not here at the event. Like, I know you're going to be leaving soon. Would you be able to just drop him home so that way he could just do his assignment? And I said, sure. Those are the things that we want to see. It's kids getting disciplined and understanding, hey, you know what, I have deadlines.
Mhm. What's a recent initiative you're proud of at Corners?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, as I know I keep saying about the baseball team, but that is one of the things that we're very, very proud of, because of just seeing a generation of little black boys who are going to grow up with so many different beautiful skill sets, building that brotherhood, building those bonds, taking away disciplinary internal disciplinary measures for themselves, understanding that, hey, like, these things are important. I have to show up, looking a certain way. My uniform shouldn't be unkept. I have to tuck my shirt in before I get up on the mound. It's those little things that they check themselves, and that is not something that they started off doing, because the kid would walk out with his shoelace untied and he wouldn't even notice. But now these kids are checking themselves, because if they know that if they've got to run from first to second and their shoes untied, they may trip, and they don't want to let their team down. They don't want to let themselves down.
Oh wow. I gotta say, it sounds like you guys are doing really excellent, to at least instill those things where, they're just mindful, but they're getting those values and morals, and they're putting these things in their minds, to just learn to continuously to critically think and how they move and shake and how things can happen. That's really impressive.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, and it's all to the kids, and the kids and the parents. They put in the work, and you see it. And these are the results, that when you care and they care, the care will show up.
So, how do you incorporate art and culture into community engagement?
Ooh, so one of our projects that we did was, there was an elementary school, and they wanted to do a new art installation. And so, Corners petitioned, and won the bid, and we did an art installation at this school, it's at the Hart Elementary School in Stamford, Connecticut. And so we had the community come, and everybody painted just a little piece of it. And so it was great to see, like, once it was all done and they did the showcase, all the kids were coming up, mommy, dad, like, that's the little part that part's me, like, I painted that, and they're so proud.
Wow. You know, I tell you, I get so much joy, in just hearing not only when people are doing things to make the lives of kids that much better, but when you see a happy child, is a good child that's actually, having his or her needs met. And that's what we want to do for all kids. And, so what I just kind of wonder if you could tell me, like, has there ever been a situation where like maybe one of the kids may have kind of like fell off the boat?
We've had a couple kids that have given us more trouble than the others, but nobody's fallen off the boat. Um, we don't do the whole thing of leaving somebody behind. It's really, again, it's meeting the kids where they are, understanding that every child has a different need, whether it be special or whatever have you, but it's understanding that these kids come from situations, they come from places that are unbeknownst to the outside world. And so, because we are aware, we can be there for them in ways that truly matter instead of just generalizing situations.
Right.
Again, it's the level of care of giving each individual and each family to understand that, hey, like, we're going to meet you where you are because you are important in your own right, and you should have the dignity and you should have the dignity for yourself, and to be able to receive the respect from the community and from others, regardless of what you do. It's just a matter of how you show up.
Mm. So, what role does intergenerational dialogue play in your work?
Oh, that is constant. Um, because we deal with people who are older, we deal with kids, and everything in between, the parents, everything, and me being a parent, so it's like I get that. So it's like I understand the dealing with like the grandmas, but then you're also, and the grandpas, but then you're dealing with uncles, you're dealing with kids, you're dealing with teens. So I've worked with all in the space of our nonprofit, but also in general. But it's really just, again, just meeting people where they are and seeing what it is that they want from and for their community, so that way we can figure out avenues and pathways to either bring it to them or have them make it themselves.
Mm. How do you navigate resistance or skepticism from within the company?
Mm. Well, from within, I don't get a lot of that. But on the outside of showing up for the first couple times, like for example, I was on the 2025 Juneteenth committee for the city of Stamford, and one of the conversations that kind of happened after the fact was, here's a guy who shows up consistently, but he's not from the city, and so that's a conversation piece sometimes, because people are like, oh, but why does he keep coming? And it's like, because I just want to help. I see a need that somebody's trying to do a thing, and I will just show up to just fill that slot. It's sometimes a committee just needs one more person to just actually form the committee. And if I've got the time and the resources, or it may not even be me, I may just ping a group of people, say, hey, who can fill this spot? It doesn't always have to be me.
Mm. What's one myth about community organizing you'd like to dispel?
Ooh, um, that's a good one. A myth of community organizing. Well, I know that there's no myth to say that it's easy. So that's for sure.
I know that's definitely not.
But I think, in all seriousness, I think the myth of thinking that you're going to make an impact right away. I think that
Mhm.
nobody should come into a situation thinking that, oh, I am who I am, or whatever have you, and I'm just going to jump into a thing. Where it's like, for me, I may have a name or whatever, or the things that I've done, but I don't just jump into a thing and say, trust me because this is who I am. It's like, no, I'm going to show up a couple times, and then we're going to start having a dialogue and building that trust and taking the time to get to know each other, because you're your own person, just like I am too. I'm not the things that have happened before. I'm my own person, just trying to show up and just bring the resources that are either in here, or the people that I know, or the things that I can do, to another person or another community. But they have to just be receptive of it.
Right. And so normally, I'm assuming that initially that may be where you kind of like get the little the little, oh well, either it's late or I'm not sure or whatever have you, until they get to know you, and then it's like everything starts rolling.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's like you have a couple conversations with somebody, and then it's like you're gonna know after a couple conversations with somebody, you're gonna say, "Hey, you know what? I kind of click with you. This makes sense. Like I like your brain. I like the way you think. And after that, then it's just a matter of, okay, so what is it that you're trying to do, and where are you trying to get to? So, and let's have that conversation to see, okay, if this is what you want to do, hey, maybe this is a pathway for you to do that thing or to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure sustainability in the programs you lead?
Ooh, finding the right people. It's always, for me, it's always people. You know, if you have the right people around you, the things will last. Because if you understand your mission and your vision, and you can get other people to understand your mission and vision, which understanding your mission may be easier than understanding the vision, because the vision can only be in here. No one can fully conceptualize your vision for you, but they can help you get there. And then maybe eventually, when they finally see it all the pieces of the puzzle come together, then they'll be like, oh, that's the picture that you were trying to show.
Right. The light bulb goes off. Oh, now
Right.
I see it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you got to just literally lead them to the promised land. And once they cross that threshold, they're like, oh, this is great.
So so like in situations like that, I mean, like has that been like kind of like a situation with a lot of the parents?
Thankfully, no. I think it's because I've been around for a little bit with them. It's that level of trust that we have, where whatever they tell me, they know that it's not gonna go anywhere. That, like, first and foremost, and then two, because people's situations are different. You never want to carry that into another person. So it's really just taking the time to get to know somebody the right way, because you may have to change your approach every single time, and that's okay. But again, that's just meeting people where they are and understanding how they need to be communicated with to get there, or to get them there.
Mhm. So let's actually move over to your work in financial literacy and empowerment.
Yes.
And can you tell us, why did you choose life insurance as a vehicle for financial literacy?
Sure. Yeah, I just made the career switch recently, and it's because financial literacy is a topic that is desperately needed in the Black community. But not even just the Black community, just Black and Brown communities. And but it's really just, we've been left out of a conversation that's been had for generations. And when we have always tried to do the things, it's been difficult. And there are so many people who have either had terrible situations with, I guess, life insurance agents in the past, or people who are predatory, or just different things. Whatever the reason is that you don't have the things that you need. I would, I want to be the conduit, or not really the conduit. I want to be the spark to say, hey, look, if you are not set up for you, you can't be set up for someone else. So, like, for example, like, when I talk about life insurance, I talk about, somebody. Uh, I was introduced recently in a group of people, and they said, "Oh, here's Abdul. He just started at New York Life. He does anybody need life insurance?" And I just stopped him right there, and I was like, "Hold on a second. I actually don't do life insurance. I do generational wealth building." And
Oh,
that changes the conversation, because it's not life insurance, it is generational wealth building. Because and it's the easiest avenue for you to do it, because
right.
for the price of a cup of coffee a day, or one meal out to dinner, you can get coverage and never be a burden on your family if something happens to you.
Right.
But then the flip side of it is, and I'm very much on this no fund me campaign, where it's just like, let's stop having the GoFundMe's every single time something happens. It's like,
Oh,
if you have, and I talk about the differences between term and whole life, whatever. I'm not going to go into that right now, but whole life insurance specifically, you can become your own bank. And when I tell that to the people, They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, you can borrow against your own policy, never have to pay it back, and there's no credit check. And then they're like, well, that sounds like a lie. And I'm like, or it sounds like the greatest deal you've never been propositioned.
That sold.
Right, exactly. Because it's like when you tell somebody, hey, in 10 years, you can have $10,000 that you can just make a phone call to me, and in 2 days, it'll be wired into your account, and you don't even have to tell me why you need the money. That changes a conversation.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
Right.
does.
Right. There's no credit checks on it. And all you had to do was, not to be vulgar, but you had to pee in a cup and take some blood. Congratulations. You're covered. Like, and now you're building equity. And so
Right.
if the younger you are, the younger you start, by the time, you're ready to retire, you're sitting on $500,000, $200,000, whatever it is, whatever amount. Yeah, it's something that you can start small and grow over time.
What misconceptions do people have about financial planning in Black communities?
They think that, oh, I'm just going to get rich. That's what I hear a lot. I had a conversation with somebody, and I said, so what are you doing for generational wealth building? And he said, oh, I make money. That was his answer. And I said, okay, but what are you doing with that money? He's like, oh, well, I mean, I buy stuff, and then I put a little bit away here and there. And I'm just like, but that's not it. Like, what do you mean? That's not how this is supposed to go. And that's not planning. That's just you utilizing your own money, but not effectively in any way, shape, or form. So then I asked the question of, like, so if something happens to you before I showed up today, on paper, what's your plan? And they just go,
There ain't no plan.
There is no plan. The plan is they're just going to work their entire life and think that they're going to have money at the end of it. But then people also don't even think about the fact that when you retire, you still need an income for the entire time that you're still alive. So, and then let's just say you're rich, right? How much money to keep your lifestyle that you have now, have you saved up that amount? Because if you have, let's say, $200,000 saved up, and you've been making, like, 100K a year, you're not doing so great. Because if you're making that salary, that means that technically you're only going to live 2 years with that money.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. Because actually, your life is going to get a whole lot of. It's going to be strained.
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot to do in between that time to even make yourself look livable.
Yeah. And then you have to think about your health is starting to go. So now you're thinking about long-term care. You're thinking about, things like, oh my God, am I going to outlive my money?
Right.
That's the harder thing, because then it's like, okay, I've lived to 80 because I thought, I thought I was going to live to maybe about 87, because that's the male average. So, like, and now you're 90 and you've run out of money. And the I don't want to say the joke, but the quip really is, all of the old people that you see working at Walmart, that's the reason why that they work at Walmart, is because they outlived their money. So they had to go back to work, and I can guarantee you they did not have enough insurance.
Right. That is true.
That's it. True. It's literally it.
So how do you make financial literacy accessible and culturally relevant?
Yeah, I talk about specifically generational wealth building and the avenues in which to do it. It's getting people to understand that the way that you look at your money math, it's not what you think it is. Your greatest, I'll just do this with you. What would you say your greatest asset is?
Me.
Okay, so because I know that you're a creative person, you hit it right on the head. And what I mean by that is that most people will say car, their house, like actual physical assets, but your true asset is your future earning potential for your entire working life. So if you,
Yes.
whatever your salary is today, if whatever, look at the time and the year that you want to retire, multiply your salary by that many years, and that's if nothing changes between now and then. Obviously, we're going to assume you're going to be making more every year, or a little bit more every year, or you're going to make a jump in, but if nothing changes, that is your earning potential over that time period, and that is the amount of money that you actually need to survive and
Mm,
or to leave behind in case something happens to you going forward. And that's the
right.
math that people don't do correctly. So they think that, oh, I'm making 100K, making 200K a year, and they think they're good. When in actuality, they've got 150K in savings, they've got 150 in a Roth IRA, but they have no death benefit. If something happens to them, their money's gone in 2 years.
You know what? I mean, I know that's a laugh, but also, that's also the thing that in our community, people really needs to understand exactly what it is to be financially literate,
Right.
because I think, as you say that, well, I'll say the sad part about that is that, especially those of you talking about earning that 100K, it's
Yep.
like they're so comfortable that they just want to spend, spend,
Yep.
spend, 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 spend.
Yeah.
Is it because they can?
Right. Right. But if you were to, but the funny part is that if they took that same money and put it into a whole life policy, then they would accumulate cash value even faster, and then
Yeah.
they would become their own bank faster, and then be able to borrow against it, never have to pay it back, while still accumulating cash value, and eventually still get a death benefit. So it's a win-win either way, and then you'd still have money to play with. So it's
Yeah.
like when you hear about these people who, they retire and then they say, oh, I'm taking my honey around the world, for on a cruise, we're going away for the next 6 months. Where do you think the money's been coming from? It's not their savings. They're pulling money out of their life insurance policy because they've retired now. They've accumulated $500,000 because they bought the policy when they were 25. And, now they're sitting on 300K, 400K, and they can literally just make a phone call and in 2 days do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. What's one financial habit you wish more people adopted?
Buying life insurance, as funny as that sounds, but it's saving what that really boils down to simplify that better, is saving correctly. It's not saying, hey, I'm young, like I'm gonna live forever, I'm gonna have a ton of money, I'm gonna make a ton of money, and that's all well and good, but congratulations if you slip, like let's say you make a lot of money, you buy a boat, you slip off the boat, then what happens?
Exact. Oh, okay. Especially if the shark don't get you, the ocean got you.
Right.
So you just drifting away.
Or what I mean by that is, like, you slip, you fall, and now you're paralyzed, or now you got an injury, you can't work anymore, and now what do you do?
Same thing.
Right. Now you're just floating in a
So,
different way.
so our people that are listening right now, what are a couple of things that that they should use as tools in order to get this planning start before meeting with someone like yourself?
Yeah. To start this process is twofold. Find somebody that you like and trust, because every agent is different, but there are tons of them, or tons of us. But it's really just a matter of finding somebody who makes sense for you, somebody who's going to understand your needs, take the time to really just really figure out and plan with you, because that our job is to be an advisor, is to say, hey, I'm going to meet you where you are, because you only need to do this much to be able to get this much, just to get started. And then you just build, and your planner is supposed to be there to build with you over time. So you have to be open as a person, not and be forthcoming about your goals, your situation, what you're trying to do. And it doesn't matter how obscure your goals are. It really, really doesn't. If you want to say, hey, I want to retire with $2 million, as long as you get started in, I mean, obviously don't say I'm 61 and I want to retire in 5 years. I want to have $2 million. It's not plausible, but the younger you get started is the best way to do it. And because the price is directly tied to your age, if you're a smoker, and your gender. Those are the mark, and your health, obviously, but, good, better, best. Those are the markers that are looked for when in the underwriting process. So when you are wanting to start this process, make sure that that you are doing the things health wise, going to the doctor regularly, making sure that you've got your checkups and things, because all of these things will be factors to help you get quite literally the lowest rate possible for your age. And the earlier you start this process, the more money you'll have later, and the more money that you'll be able to quite literally live the life that you say you want.
Mm-hmm. So, how does economic empowerment tie into racial justice?
Oh, that is, yeah. I mean, that goes back to the 40 acres and a mule. I mean,
Yeah.
um, I mean, quite frankly, but economic empowerment is the way where let me put it to you this way. Politics has a lot of money involved, right? And so if you had a community, and I always use this example because let's say you had an entire Black community, right? That was underprivileged, underserved, whatever words you want to use, right? But let's say they all got small whole life policies. In a
Right.
decade, they would all have $10,000, which means
Mm-hmm.
that they could then pool that money or pool some of their collective monies together to give support to the right candidate,
Mm-hmm.
which then,
Basically, yes.
right. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so there are economic ways, because that is empowerment. They're going to listen to your dollar first before they
Mm-hmm.
hear you. Because if you make a small donation, you're going to get on their track. Even if it's like a $5 donation, recurring, whatever, you're still going to get those emails and invitations and things for the town halls and those things. And that's your key into the door. And once you get into the door, that's where you're like, okay, hey, I've got an entire community ready to back you, not only financially, but also in power.
Mm-hmm. What's your take on generational wealth and how we build it?
Generational wealth is something that we have not been doing well. And I have heard this story before where somebody, not me personally, but it was another agent that I spoke to, and this person was doing this. This potential client was doing really well in life, and they just started spending a lot. They were buying all the things that they wanted to buy and all of that. And so the agent was like, "Hey, but what about leaving something behind for your kids?" And they said, "No, this is my life. They have to do theirs." And I was like, "Hold on a second." I'm talking to the agent. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I was just flabbergasted. I didn't even know what to say, because I was like, "What?" I'm like, you're talking about your child. Like, that's crazy. Like, what do you mean you're not going to do anything behind? It's like you have an entire group of people stolen from one land, and you are now the ancestor of that person, and you don't want to give anything behind after they have endured all of these things generationally. Like, it's in your blood to give back.
Mm-hmm. Some people, as you say that, I mean, I don't know if I want to say it's a horrible thing, but some people really don't see, the power
Yeah.
doing those things and understand what those things really, really mean.
Yes.
Because if they did, then what they would understand is it's like, hey, this is what I got to do, and this is what I should be doing, and this is what legacy,
Yeah.
or just just from the generational perspective, this is here for a reason. So I
Right.
need to continue and uphill what's been done before.
Right.
The-
Generational wealth building is the same thing. Somebody will pour into your cup so that way you can then overflow into the next cup. That's how it's supposed to work. Your parents do whatever they can to give you the best life possible. So why wouldn't you want to do that in turn for the next generation, regardless if you have kids or not. Because even if you don't have a specific beneficiary, like let's say you're an only child, and so you don't have any nieces or nephews or anything like that, or you don't have a kid, you can still have a policy, or I should say a financial plan, really is more accurate, a financial plan in place, because who knows, maybe you'll create something, maybe you'll start a business, and congratulations to you. But at the same time, it's like, if something happens to you, what happens to your business? It's you can build into policies and financial planning legacy gifting. It's like, if you're involved in a church or a nonprofit, you build in legacy gifts. It's your way to give back and to give a final, a final piece of you away to live on in perpetuity.
How do you approach financial education for youth?
So we've had a couple of different programs, one of which I taught one, and I brought in another guy to teach one, and we just get teens, and we just create a program, and we just teach them about, like, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Tulsa race massacres, and we tell them about what has been done then, what's happening now, how the economic winds change. We get them to understand the basics of investing, the basics of insurance policies, the basics of understanding savings correctly, paying yourself first. It's understanding how taxes work. Understanding how to balance budgets, how to create a budget and keep a budget, and balancing a checkbook. That's things that should be taught in home economics that doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah, they got rid of that when I left high school.
Yeah. So,
what's the most rewarding part of your financial literacy work?
When the light bulb turns on. I think that's the most rewarding part, is when the light bulb turns on and you see somebody, not only do they get it, but then they start to implement it, and they really see the value of what you're bringing to them. Because sometimes they may be a little skeptical, but then when that light bulb turns on and they can see a pathway, and they see the pathway get illuminated, and they start taking those steps down that path, it's just the best, because that you've given them enough information where they are now going to their journey will now begin.
How do you integrate financial literacy into your broader activism?
Yeah, it's kind of, as funny as it is, I've kind of turned that into my day job. As an insurance agent, I just literally talk to everybody about financial planning now, because it's such an important thing. And so I will just weave it into just conversations, because it really does hit every sector of society. When it comes to education, it comes to the law, it comes to medicine. It's because insurance, it hits every single one of those sectors. So you can do educational planning. It's like, oh, you want to go to school, or you have a kid who's like 5 years old, and what are you doing for college savings? It's like, now we're talking about 529 plans, and so it's like, it's understanding that the financial planning model can be for anything that you want it to be. It's just a matter of understanding your needs and then getting you the right solutions to get you there.
What's one financial tool every Black household should know about?
Whole life insurance. In all seriousness, because having it means a sense of security that will be unparalleled. Because when you have it, it's permanent. No one can take it away from you once you have it. The only way you lose your whole life insurance is if you literally just don't pay for it anymore. Otherwise, it's there forever. However, the key differential, though, is that if you get injured while having life insurance and you are paid up and you're good, if something does happen to you, at least my company will actually pay for, or at least pay your policy while you're disabled until you're back on your feet. And so that's a worry that you don't have to worry about. It's understanding how these mechanisms move for you and benefit you truly.
We're going to transition over to Black history and personal
Mm,
influences. When we spoke, and I asked you in Black history, who are the most influential persons in your life and your
hmm.
career? You told me Harriet Tubman and
Yep.
Malcolm X. Can you tell us why are Harriet Tubman and Malcolm X such powerful influences in your life?
Yes. Well, Harriet Tubman, because of the raw power that a person has to have, and I should say the raw willpower that a person has to do what she did. That level of determination is something that we need showcased more today, because there are too many reasons not to. But if you can find the 1, 2, that's all you really need. And so it's really just taking the time to find that. And she had that. She had her purpose. And so, it's understanding your own purpose, your drive, what makes you you. All of those things she embodies so well. And that's why, from her perspective. And then when you switch over to Malcolm, it's really for him, or is it for me, from him, is between his level of, when I say narration, I mean truth telling, the way he spoke and the way he showcased the world to itself. And, it's something that is needed today. We don't have enough people listening. We have a lot of people talking, but we don't have enough people listening to the right things. There's so much misinformation out here, and he was a person who would cut right through it all.
That's true. He would. By any means necessary.
Great.
What lessons from Harriet Tubman's legacy do you apply in your work today?
Just keep going. To put it point blank, is just keep going. We all have up and downs, and we all have different life situations and circumstances, but at the end of the day, keep going, because a couple more steps could really change your life.
How does Malcolm X's philosophy shape your approach to leadership?
Being the person that it's really being the person who can help others achieve, not necessarily or their goals, because I can't always help somebody achieve their goals, but I'll definitely try. But what I mean by that is, he was a person who spoke such truth and such power, and he figured out ways to elevate the people around him. And for me, I always took that as, well, that is what we're supposed to do. And so all I try to do now in our nonprofit space is really just elevation of people. It's, if you have an idea, let's give it a shot. It doesn't matter what the idea is, as long as it's grounded and practical and pragmatic. And if it makes sense and you have the vision, give it the shot. And, let's see if we can truly elevate that thing or that space.
What does it mean to carry the Tubman name in today's world?
Oh, that's a good question. I think in today's world, we need more people to just stand up for what's right, and to really speak truth to, I know the phrasing is speak truth to power, right? But we need more people to be resilient. We need more people to work together better, more effectively. We need people to understand that reconnection and building, or I should say not even building, curating the right community will be the end all be all for anything and everything that you would want.
I'm going to tell you this before I go to this next question, because, besides you just having the name Tubman, from your time being on the show before and being here
Yes.
now, it's like, I just honestly, I feel very fortunate, because the work that you do and the work that you are doing, it signifies so much, and it has such an imprint on what we're looking for as far as community goes. And when you think about you having that name Tubman, and she went back and
Hmm.
forth all the way to the straight
Yep.
north, all the way down to the
Yep.
south. And she just leading these
Yeah.
people, leading
Hmm.
them, and she's
Hmm.
doing this, right? It puts me in the mind of, for the work that you're doing, is that it's the same way, it's just not in that same
Right.
process. But it's those things that, not only it makes me a proud host, but I'm sure that your family and yourself are very proud of the work that you're doing because it's impactful.
I'm definitely trying. That's for sure. I hope that I should say my hope is really just that the lasting effects will linger, because I know that a lot of the work that we do today, I say this phrase a lot, which is the work that I do today, I may never see the end result. And I'm okay with that, because this is a generational game we're playing. One that we've been left out of the conversation. It's, I think, one of the best examples out of the BLM movement was that woman. I'm blanking on her name at the moment, but she used the example of playing the game of Monopoly, and certain demographics have been able to just go around the board multiple times, and we just got to roll the dice for the first time.
Yeah.
And so we're just getting around the board the first couple times. And so, when you look at that kind of disparity, um, it's really just, as long as we know that the work we're doing will have that generational impact and shining a light just a little bit brighter every single time, that will be okay. It'll just take a little bit, and that's okay. But at least that we know that collectively, if we're all moving in the right direction, then we'll be all right.
So tell us, how do you honor your ancestors through your work?
For me, it's really everything that I do is just looking to see what has been done, and knowing that everything that we do is from someone else. Our ideas that we're putting out there, they're not necessarily novel ideas. We're building upon principles that came before us. Best example that just happened to me last night. I had the absolute honor to speak with Dr. Angela Davis.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I was at an event last night, and she was there virtually, and I was one of the people who was able to ask a question. And just that 3-minute dialogue was just amazing, because it really validates the work that we're doing, and to know that the impact that we could potentially have, is felt by people who have come before us, and that they see the work that we are doing generationally, and that our impact will hopefully hold.
Mm. So, with that being said, what's your vision for the future of the African diaspora?
Ah, my vision is collectively understanding that we as a people, we need to be proud of your heritage, right? Be proud of your heritage, but please remember where the boat picked you up from.
Mm.
Because the moment you start saying, I only want to work with, Jamaican people, Haitian people, I only want to work with me, I only want to work with, Liberian, I only want to work with, whatever, Afro Latino, Dominican, the moment you do that, remember that we are greater than the sum of our parts.
Mhm.
Our collective resources, when you add them up, it becomes an exponential, thing. And most people think of themselves individually instead of the community aspect. And once you start doing that, you realize that, again, it's that, same example of your earning potential, it's your production potential within the space of each other. And so when you work together, your production is exponential. And so when you do that collectively around the world, it's that. And so for me, it's really just connecting people. It doesn't matter where you are, as long as you are a person who understands the needs of the people, we can work together and do the thing. My first marker is that you have to be a good person. And you have to and when I say a good person, I mean a person who understands humanity on a basic level, to say, this isn't the marker for which, what we have a standard for. The standard is what's in here first, and go from there.
Wow. How do you use history to inspire action in the present?
Yes, what I do is, whenever I talk about history, I correlate it directly to what is happening today. The playbook that is happening today in American politics is one that has been seen before, during the Civil Rights era, during Jim Crow. So it's understanding history, because they say history repeats itself, right? But that is only true if you allow it. So if you teach history and you understand the bad things, and you truly understand the bad things, you're not going to repeat those bad things.
You can't.
Right.
What's one historical figure you wish more Black people studied deeply?
Studied deeply. Oh man, that's a great question. There are so many. I mean, okay, so if we say Black people today, honestly, I would say most of the civil rights leaders, Nelson Mandela. I mean, currently in current politics, I would say Ibrahim Traore. President Ibrahim Traore. He's a great person to learn about. What he's done for his people is just beyond. It's what Africa really needs. I mean, France is panicking. Their government is in shambles right now because of what they're doing.
They're giving up their minerals,
it's all because
they give their own currency.
Exactly. Yeah, right. It's I would say it's unheard of, but the reason why Gaddafi was killed, because he was trying to do the same thing.
And actually, see, that's what I guess we'll talk about that on the history show. But Gaddafi was actually doing something that was going to empower Black people all over the world. And they told that lie and got that uproar against him and got him killed.
Yep. Not only that, but he was about to gift. Oh my God, what's his name? Black leader. I believe he just recently passed away. Oh my God, it's the Nation of Islam, and I'm blanking on his name. But they were getting, and I could see his face. He was getting ready to give this man $1 million, and the U.S. government said no. All because to give this Black man $1 million in that time period would have changed the economic space for Black people.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they said no. Oh, Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah, but see, you know something? I won't. And this is the first for me, because I want to make sure that I use my words nicely on air, because because of the climate right now today. But yes. When what he was actually trying to do, and what some other folk are actually trying to do, as well as what's happening right now in Africa, I've actually advised a lot of folk to make sure you understand what that is that they're doing in some of those countries over there in Africa, because that new currency that they're creating, they've got some backing of some real serious countries. And of course, France is upset because they ain't dealing with Europe.
Right. So, yeah, exactly.
And so what they're doing is some things that we need to be learning about. But see, not many people even know the first thing about this whole situation, which is something else. And I've been
Oh
trying
yeah.
to figure
Oh
out
yeah.
how do I actually put this in my post, my blog post, that is,
Mm,
because that is
right.
just that important. As you mentioned that,
Yeah.
and I know that as we do community building here, and that's what it's all about.
Mm,
And so, if we can
yeah.
ever find ways to liberate, build, connect, expand, and unify, that right there is
Mm-hmm.
game, set, and match.
Yep.
That's game, set, and
Yep.
match.
Yeah. It is. We have the buying power. We just buy the wrong things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. We're not buying assets.
Ooh, boy. How do you respond to people who say Black history is in the past?
Well, I would say yes, all of history is in the past, but so is 3 seconds ago. And your point. So, that's really my response. That's the past is the past, but you're supposed to learn from it. That's the whole self as it is happening yet again.
Right. But
Yeah.
well, of course, those are the folk that don't want to deal with what has happened that's benefited them in this present.
Exactly.
And so, in one, if you got to deal with your past and what's happening now, and now that you have to deal with that, you don't want your folk to know what y'all been doing all this time and how y'all got to where you are,
Right.
because it's obvious that the original kings and queens on this earth are the ones that are here right now,
Right.
that are still within arm's length after all that has happened.
Yeah.
After all that has happened. And so until they want to face that realization, I mean, it's going to only get better and better, but we've got to do better as well.
100%.
My last question for you. What does Black excellence mean to you?
Black excellence. What does that mean to me? Black excellence is working together, building your community, and utilizing the resources that we collectively have to build each other up. That to me is Black excellence, because if you're the only one who's succeeding, you failed, because you haven't actually helped anybody. You helped yourself, and that's all well and good, but if you're not bringing people with you, you miss the concept. It's okay to take just a little bit less if more people can benefit. That's the whole point, is that people don't do things alone. Work together, because you will both win. We can all win. We just have to do it the right way and do it better. Work together, take a little bit less each, but compound it. Work together more, and then you make more. We are larger than the sum of our parts. So that exponential power, it's there. Look at all of these boycotts, and the alternative to Amazon is the Black one is I think the Myria app. We have collective power. We just have to choose the right avenues and pathways to be able to do the things.
Right. So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement that you like to leave for our audience? How to connect with you on social media, your websites, things you need them to know about what you're doing, and so forth.
Sure. I guess my last piece of advice really is, I guess, just yet again, find your community. Whatever that looks like for you, find the community and the people that will work with you to benefit the people that you care about. If you care about things, then there are other people, I'm sure, who also care about those things. Find those people, and they will be more inclined to work with you, because you have the same goals from the onset, and you can build upon that. Trust takes time, so take the time to build the trust. Don't just jump into something just because it's there or it exists. Learn it, master it, do the thing, and help someone else. Yeah, that's really my advice. But yeah, I guess in closing, you can people can reach me on Instagram on Tubman's Underground. That's also the name of my website. I'm reachable via email at abdul@cornerscommunity.org, which is also our website, cornerscommunity.org, where we post what we're doing on our socials at Corners Community. We have our Black Dads community, our Black Moms community. We are really all encompassing, trying to really just not really all encompassing, but we're really trying to get to being all encompassing and working with people that make sense to do the right things for our people. So, if you want to get involved or help or donate, we are looking for, sponsors, benefactors, patrons, individuals who think it's a great thing and, just looking to do more where we can and connect with people who also want to do more, because we can do more. We have to just choose to do more. So, but thank you so much for having me back again. This was amazing.
Oh, most definitely. I just again, I want to apologize. There's a few comments or questions here that's in the chat. One is, well, John Devin Bates is from Indianapolis, Indiana, but I guess he forgot to put the question. There is Erica Nicole, and she says, "We don't buy assets." It's very true. Erica also says, "Right for the end goal." And she also says, "Repping corners." So you all, apparently she's one of your co-workers.
Yeah, she's one of our moms in the community. Yep.
Yep, it's always a choice, 100%.
Yep.
So for those of you that are watching on all the channels, especially the YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe and get all the notifications, because the information here for the show is all about education and community, because we want you guys to be informed. So you'll be able to watch all the shows live when they happen. You'll also be able to go back and watch all the previous recorded shows. And so make sure you just get all the notifications when you do subscribe, but we would definitely love to have your support by subscribing. For those that are watching and you just heard Abdul mention the key things about community, financial literacy, and generational wealth. These are things that we have to do in our communities, because if we do not, and we're continuously running around going to every place but where we are, how do we expect for the resources to continue to gain? We can't. So what we all have to do is we have to, as he mentioned, we have to come together as a group, as a community, and we do what we do in our communities in order to build them and to keep them continuously strong, especially for the parts that are left after what is being taken at this point and from what has been taken. So we can still make the best of what we have, because it's been done before. And so we're here not just to say, okay, well, I make money, I want to go spend this money. It makes no sense to go and spend money on $500 tennis shoes, $1,000 concerts, $500 dresses, and $3,000 shoes or a bag, and that money's not coming back to your community. And so let's not be a stereotype and take our money outside the community, because it's been said that $1 in the African American community don't even circulate one time. It's spent and it's gone.
Yep.
So if that's the case, let's do something about it. Let's reach out to people like Abdul. Let's ask that question. If you need to be put in a place where you can get more information other than myself, send me an email or send me a comment or a question, and we can actually talk about that here on America in Black and White. That's what we're here for. We are that resource, the resource to continuously to build, connect, expand, and unify our communities. I want you all to have a wonderful weekend, but I will tell you we have a very special show tomorrow night. We've got a special. So we will be back tomorrow night. So I will say, as of tonight, you all, I want to thank you for your support tonight. Please come see us tomorrow night as we continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. I'm your guest, Charles King. You guys have a great night, and thank you again. Abdul, I'm going to send you an email